So we are talking Mississippi River Shark. This is part of Sci-Fi's 2017 Shark Week, which of course culminated in Sharknado 5. This one directed by Misty Talley, who also directed Ozark Sharks, along with Zombie Shark, which is also known as Shark Island. So here we are with Mississippi River Shark. The story basically focuses on this kind of fishing competition called the Fishing Rodeo, where we have all these kind of fishermen trying to catch the biggest fish to win this pickup and a bunch of money. And there they have this kind of celebrity who's opening the competition, who's actually the star of this shark series, called Sharkbait, which is kind of obviously a riff on the kind of the Sharknado films with the sounds of it. So it's almost a little bit meta. And he's kind of played by Jason London, who's kind of playing a version of himself. So it's a little bit meta there. And of course, these sharks start causing havoc. And it's up to a group of kind of college graduates to kind of try and stop them, basically. So what do we think of these type of movies as a general rule of thumb? I've got to say, personally speaking, I am not a big fan of these kind of like these jokey, cheaply made, sort of made-for-TV sci-fi movies. I do like shark films. I'm a big shark movie fan, but I prefer when they are taken somewhat seriously, like we've had in 2017. We've had, obviously, Open Water 3, Cage Dive. We've had 47 Meters Down. We had The Shallows. They're the sort of things I like. I mean, there is a place for this, clearly, these sort of films. But this one just seems real cheap, in my opinion. And the actual sharks themselves is a kind of like cartoon characters. They look, the CGI is so cheap on them, it looks like they are from Roger Rabbit. So it's like Jaws meets Roger Rabbit is the best way to describe this film. Well, it does have going for what I feel is some quite likeable characters. I think the majority of the cast, at least, come across as fairly kind of likeable sort of characters, kind of, you know, somewhat salt of the earth type. So they kind of, you kind of do root for them, despite the fact, obviously, this is a very silly kind of scenario. Nonetheless, they're kind of quite likeable characters. And I did like the kind of the inclusion of the character played by Jason London, playing like a version of himself as this kind of star of this shark series, much like the guy who plays the character Ian Ziering, is it, who plays the lead character in the Sharknado films. He's kind of playing like that, and obviously he's a bit of a jerk and all of that as played in the film. It's quite fun. There are a few kind of like little winking nods to this kind of cheap consumable shark type film, so it's a little bit knowing, so therefore a little bit less, so you can kind of appreciate that. But if you're watching it as a story as a whole, it's nothing you haven't seen before. The story itself, it's just a standard old plot. You know, we've got this kind of competition, all these sharks, people want to try and save them, and of course there we have this bad guy, human bad guy, who kind of has got his own kind of selfish motivations and things like that. The plot is really just kind of like the Jaws style plot, just rehashed and again and again and again. The effects are quite terrible, like I've mentioned. They've spent no money on the actual visual effects. There's a couple of, I guess, quite amusing deaths, but the humans here almost feel like they're made of butter, and the sharks can just kind of like push their way through them and stuff like that. There's not a lot of kind of gore here. We do see a few prosthetic limbs, but they look like prosthetic limbs. And there's a really laughable scene where we see a severed head floating in the water, but it's clearly just a mannequin's head. It's kind of ridiculous. I feel like there's not a lot of effort. It's just been a bit of a kind of a time waster to make a kind of shark movie for Shark Week, and it's been real just kind of like, I just film whatever. There's a few $1,000, just go and make a shitty shark film. It's completely unmemorable. I know, like, it has its audience. I know Brian Gatto over at the Horror Show loves these type of films. I don't. I just think they're a bit of a time waster. It did have a few nice character moments. That I'll give it, and I did like the somewhat meta commentary on this kind of genre, but it's not enough to make it a recommendation for me. I'll give this movie a 3 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.